taken the lead in car number 202 at the halfway stage off place, moving through closer to the 1-5 Tony Smith again. Another big shot.
The June the 13th World Championship qualifying round at Long Eaton heralded a new chapter in 1992. Yellow top Richard Mason took full advantage of his recent downgrading by taking the Heaton final double. The only starman to come close to Richard was Peter Falding, who fresh from his title win in Holland took the laurels in his Heaton, then followed that up with second place in the final and Grand National. The one thing that nobody was expecting was a John Lund rollover in the final. This was then followed up by a Michael Ives rollover, which sparked off a state of action which was to last over the next few months.
Now what the race is, qualifying points and the grand final victory, about to go to 202, Richard Mason. Number 26, and those three are certainly setting the pace.
The following day at Boston, there were still more World Championship qualifying points on offer, and once again it was Richard Mason who, from his yellow-grey start, dominated the meeting with another Heaton final double. But with world points on offer, the Starmen were never far behind, in the form of Frankie Wayman Jr.
So it's Hudson Steve who goes into the lead in 172 from... Oh, and down here again, Dan Clark in number 203. Morley's going to put the bumper in on Junior Wayman, try and push him wide on the turnstile 10. He does through on the inside, comes back again, and it's Hawley who leads in 33 from Junior Wayman in 5-1-5. Mason then mixing it with the back markers at the quite early part of the proceedings, where he just in the lap 5 in fact, and Mason is there. Mason's still out there in 202. Oh, it's trashed again. Mason's still there from 5-1-5 Junior Wayman. Wayman is going to get close enough. Look at him. He bounces down that strength to hold the put in the bumper in on that turn. But he doesn't do so. Mason holds his line, comes in the home straight. Richard Mason takes this one in column and 202 from 5-1-5 Junior Wayman in that second place. And the rest of the world. Which, if that is the case,
2 weeks after Mason's Long Eaton Boston double, the Gold Trail led to his hometown of Bradford. Following this heat win, he told Rob Hughes the secret of his success.
The Bradford Odsal Stadium was 202 Richard Mason, who's enjoying a rich vein of success from his yellow top starting position this moment in time in the course of the season. You must be delighted with your performance again, Richard.
Yeah, I've been happy all month since I dropped to yellow. The car's been going well. Obviously I'm up to blue next week, so it'll just go just as well as from blue, so it's set up. Let's see how things go.
You must be enjoying your yellow top though, because really you're a star man in the wrong roof colour really, aren't you?
Yeah, but I come out too far in season waiting for my engine coming back, and the dog's got too many points, and for the 3 meetings I did up to my grading period, it was a bit much for me to catch up. We're having a new car to start with. First couple of meetings it was like 90% there, and then we've just gone better and better, and I can't fault it now.
You must rate it as one of the best cars you've had.
Yeah, it is the best one I've ever had, and engine's the best one I've ever had, even though it's an old one. I'm getting maximum performance out of it, which I'm glad about.
Now, you've had a fair few wins so far this season, but Boston last Sunday must have been pretty enjoyable for you.
Yeah, to say Boston is my favourite track. I've never done anything there, and I was sat on the start-finish line. I thought it's either going to be one of those nights where I do something, or it's going to be a bad one, and it paid off.
You obviously made the right choice, considering that Bolton earlier on in the afternoon was what, about 45 minutes away from home?
It wasn't too far. I mean, I talking to young Frank at Long Eaton after one final, and he says go to Boston because he's paying double money and all this extra money. He says all you do is do a race, load up and go straight to Boston. But if I'd have probably done that, I'd have ended up getting a load of hassle at Boston, and would it have been worth it?
Just the way it goes, isn't it?
That's stock car racing.
And I've said to the other drivers who've won tonight, is put them in good stead for that semi-final position.
Yeah, young Mark Gilbank's been going well. He deserved it. And I'm glad Shane Durrell won that. I mean, he gives me a bit of support, and I think we're going to have a right good running final.
Good night for the yellow tops all round so far. How do you think you're going to go in the final tonight?
I'm hoping I'm going to win it, but you can never tell with this job.
Is it going to be a question of a race out the pits to get pole position?
I don't know, I mean, my car's ready now, I mean, that's why we're parked up. I'm not bothered if they have pick it out of an hat, it doesn't bother me.
And is your thumb giving you any cause for concern, seeing that you wrapped it around the steering wheel in your heat?
It's giving me a bit of pain. It happened last week at Crewe. It's been on and off all week, and I thought it were right now, but I've just done same in meet, so I'll just try it final.
What did you do? Did you just kind of like wrap it around the steering wheel as you went around one of the turns?
No, steering wheel, I think it's a bit bent after that shunt at Bolton. Being a racing wheel, they're on the right light, and it didn't just true, and I think it's bending my thumb backwards all the time.
Well, obviously we hope that it doesn't put you off too much for the final tonight, and perhaps you'll be able to rattle off a good number of points again come the main race this evening.
Yeah, that's what we all race for final. I'd like to win final, but I don't want them points for qualifiers because I'm going to be too far up, which I really want it to have like a 6th or 7th row start, but obviously it's looking like I'm going to be on 2nd or 3rd row.
Where are you going to be? Where would you prefer to be?
Don't bother me, I mean, Hartlepool, I'm not bothered, if it's still going.
Right, well, let's hope so. It should be a good race. Okay, Richard, thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Derek Fairhurst would have fared or is faring in the 4-1 round as Jeff Nichols in 2-1-5. The grand final is underway. 32 cars and it's Reg Huller in 296 who moves, and there's already trouble for Phil Bickel in number 7 and the rest of them still desperately trying to sort themselves out in this very full field of cars. They come roaring down the whole straight.
True to form, Richard raced to victory in the final, and Rob Hughes got the trackside view from Richard after the race.
Sure enough, he's done it. 2:02, Richard Mason wins heat and final tonight at Bradford's World Championship qualifying round. Well done, mate.
Sorry! Yeah, I enjoyed it, but that dust just killed it a bit. I couldn't see, I didn't know if when checkered flag were coming out or if any track were blocked, so he just kept going. I mean, Graham France made a good move for me, put me wide out. He went through and I just followed him. I mean, that 3 from home, he made a mistake and I was just clear then. I mean, I knew we were a lap down, and I know he goes well round here, just follow the man.
Well, once again, you got a superb start, even on the second restart of the night, and you got away good and clear amongst the wet shale.
Yeah, the car goes just as well on wet as what it does on dry. I can't fault the car, and I've got a good tyre setup at my home. My tyre wears good. It just gripped and it were off. I'm suited with it.
Now, you must have thought that with all the confusion out there, it was so dusty, and you didn't know whether Graham France was in there or lap down or what, did you?
I knew we were a lap down because I passed him on 2nd and 3rd bend. Somebody must have put him away. I didn't expect him to give me as big a one as what he did, and I suppose it worked off really.
And how did you rate the actual racing service? Were you worried about whether your tyres were going to pop or not?
I wasn't bothered about that, it was just all the dust. I mean, it's dangerous when it does get like that, but it was for so long. I mean, it must have been 3/4 of the race with that dust, and it didn't best the conditions to race in.
Well, do you think the answer to it is at the height of summer on a shale track like this? Do you think there should be more ground preparation?
I should think they should put more water down, more preparation with water on the day of the meeting. I mean, it was bad enough for me, and I mean, what do the spectators think about the job? Yeah. You know, I mean, that's them all paying us. I mean, if they didn't come through gates, we won't be getting anything back. I mean, they've got to think about them, you know, as far as we go.
Okay then, Richard, well, thanks for your time. Congratulations on winning tonight. You could just bring your trophy up into view. It seems to be a pretty good one, that.
Yeah, it's the best one I've had this year. I mean, them 2 from Long Eaton and Boston weren't right cracking, but I'll take this home now.
Okay, thanks very much, mate. Cheers.
Cheers.
Like rain during most of the meeting, the July Long Eaton proved to be a sensational affair, with 3 rollovers occurring during the meeting. Race 1 was for the Long Eaton Super Bowl, a race which was John Lunn's from lap 1. Lunn pushed past Jimmy Wayman and Peter Forden at the start and was never in trouble over the following 20 laps.
To 53, John Lunn is the race leader and on to win £500. Frankie Wayman Jr. coming under pressure from 260. Dave Beresford for 3rd place. but it's still 53 to John Lunn that leads into turns 1 and 2. Les Spencer 90 onto the infield banking. We also lost 2-1-3, that's Janis 471, Bobby Burns 6-1-7-5, Rob Pearce 7th, number 2 Paul Harrison, and in 8th 2-7-2 Andy Hodgson. The race leader on station was briefly stationary. 195 Tony Smith spins out the action on turn.
The first of the night's rollovers was the most sensational and came about when Richard Knight rolled down the home straight. The Knight car managed a multiple barrel roll and was arguably one of the best of 1992. The second was performed by Heat 2 long-time race leader Owen Brown, with a little help from Long Eaton bomber driver Don Tansley. And Paul Harrison later succumbed to the pressure of fellow stars Peter Falding and Frankie Wayman Sr. and rolled over in the Grand National. In between the chaos, John Lunn won the final with a little help from local driver Rob Pearce, who made a kamikaze attack on Falding. Both had earlier won heats in the meeting, and the other races went to Des Chandler, Murray Harrison and Andy Hodgson.
Martin Southwell, and Southwell puts 128 John Wright out of the ring in third spot, and 53 John Lunn fourth, 202 Richard Mason is in fifth, 515 Frankie Wayman Jr. is sixth. Now the race lead changes again. Rob Pearce goes backwards and attacks Peter Falding, and Peter Falding's gone. Rob Pearce 175 attacked the 33 car at the end of the home straight and sent Falding into the wires, and it's 113 Russell Humphrey that leads the grand final, and Pearce tangles up with Richard Mason. So Richard Pearce has taken two of the top drivers around Long Eaton out in one bend, and 175 Roger Lace infield with 202 Richard Mason now, and it's one finish line, and now Lunn puts the pressure on, and Humphrey's got the big one, and 5 laps to go next time. John Lunn shunts Humphrey wide down the back straight. Humphrey's still there in second spot, car number 113. 515 Frankie Wayman Jr. comes across the line in third, champion as Opak Marcus do indeed tangle in front of John Lunn. Russell Humphrey 1 points champion, and 53 John Lunn wins the grand final. 1 John Lunn, and 175 Rob Pearce almost rolls over onto the centre green with 172 Stevie Hodgson. 2608 Beresford can also have been involved. Just about to say 53 John Lunn has retired to the infield after his grand final win. Obviously a mechanical problem with the 53 car, can't quite see what was wrong, and a big shunt on the back straight for number 2 Paul Harrison, and he's rolled right over on the back straight. Paul Harrison climbs over 33, and we need Wayman Jr. Andy Hodgson comes in with a big one. Frankie Wayman Jr. goes wide into the slippy stuff, loses 2 places, but he's back and running up the back straight as Andy Hodgson 272 sneaked through. Frankie Wayman Jr. shunts 97 Murray Harrison wide, trying to go through to second place. We lost Gary Chester 154 and a big shunt over on the back straight. And now the top 3 roll up.
By surprise, I think. The power comes on around there.
Following Long Eaton on Sunday was an East Coast doubleheader. First up was Skegness, which saw the staging of the annual BSCDA Trust Fund race, which almost turned out to be a tarmac version of the previous night's Super Bowl. Murray Harrison won the event in fine style, racing from halfway down the grid to take his first Brisca Formula 1 race title. A fine drive also came from Huddersfield's Phil Smith, who put up stubborn resistance to Murray's challenge and eventually placed a superb second place. Peter Falding was the focus of attention in the meeting final. JB, who had some scores to settle with Falding by this point in the season, was presented with a sideways 33 car on the exit to turn 4. Hitting the 33 car at full speed, JB went straight up onto the bonnet, and despite the best efforts of Falding, stayed there for the duration of the final. Meanwhile, John Lunn drove a safe race and took the checker.
Triumphantly from the cab of his car as he crosses the line in first place, and Smith, an extremely good second place.
Got it from Hodgson in 272.
Still Daniel Harter in number 4 from Eric Graving in 3-1-5. And Phil just keeping an eye again on things. Oh, and Russ Humphrey in car number 113 goes. Paul Harrison is in trouble over on that back straight, car facing right the way around, and in fact Paul climbing clear and he's all okay. 53 John Lund at 272, that's how it could be. That Sog is back in the fray, but only just. Phil Wilton stronger in mid down the home straight. Wayne Hamley still motoring in 378. 33 Peter Folding. Oh, and look at that! Folding goes there with a car right over the top of him. In fact, it's Jane Bean's machine there. Whoa, and a great big flash back there. And indeed, somebody's going to go there unless we're not careful. And it's 53 John Lund who's taken over as those two cars are desperately fighting to get free right in the middle of the pit bend exit. And that's interesting indeed as John Lund takes over in car number 53. From 272 and 109. And we're into the second half, Mr. Stardom, into the second half. But still round and round those cars are going, and they haven't yet come apart. That really is quite interesting down there. Firmly stuck. About to pull up with 2 laps to go. Oh, it's 413 Matthew Bennett there in the lead now, and Bennett certainly going right the clappers around there, having overtaken John Lawn on that last lap.
The second half of the Trackstar double saw Folding in the wars once again. No doubt looking for a victory following his lacklustre Skegness performance, Folding pushed East Coast driver John Lawn a little bit too fast into a dead car. Lawn's car swung out and his front bumper went straight through Folding's roll cage. A well-shaken Peter finished the race in second place. Race leader at the time of the incident was 413 Matthew Bennett. Bennett had just missed out on a semi-final place, so it came as some consolation when he won his heat and then took his first ever Formula 1 final at Boston. The top performer at Boston was 113 Russell Humphrey, who won heat and Grand National, giving an indication of what he is capable of on the Hammond-Newbeck Shareway.
Away goes Des Chandler in 213, so does Steve Hodgson in 172. August. Car number 413, putting it all together rather nicely. It'll be half-time on halfway next time, Mr. Starlow.
City 121, getting safely around there. Matthew Bennett nicely placed as well in 413, and he swings past Steve Tony Brown, in fact getting in the way of the oncoming traffic on that occasion.
Bradford's July session saw heats won by Peter Folding, Frankie Raymond Sr. and Dave Beresford, but once again the final was won by John Lund. This time it was Russ Humphries doing the running. Lund reached Humphries on the last lap, and a slight push into turn 3 gave John the #1 position and his third Odsal final of 1992, leaving no one in doubt that Lund was the #1 contender for the 92 gold. Racing well at the July Bradford was New Zealander Graham Barr, the first of the flood of drivers racing at Bradford to get experience for the World Final meeting, an event which was getting closer by the day.
Second and third places, and it's happening again. Well, into the fence they go. 272 and 216.
Then gets himself involved with Nick Gretney, 416, and he's gone. And he's 97. Murray Harrison,
problem there. Sideline over on the far side. See what happens this time through. That's the halfway, Mr. Starter. Russ Humphrey still there in 113.
Johnson in car number 53. Is he going to try and put Russ Humphrey away? He does. He puts Russ Humphrey away on that turn. Right him out into the rough. This John Munder comes through. Out of turn 4 to take the checkered flag. 53, John Munder.
In the world of stock car racing, the word August could only mean semi-final time, and 1992 saw the World Championship events going to Hartlepool, Boston and Long Eaton. At Hartlepool, the big news was the impending front row showdown between the sport's number 1, John Lund, and the young pretender to the throne, Junior Wayman, who started next to him on outside row 1. All was thrown into disruption, however, when in the weeks preceding the big event, Junior Wayman was involved in a road accident and suffered a broken arm. On the day of the Hartlepool semi, Rob Hughes asked him about his latest obstacle on the way to the World Final.
Outside row 1 is number 515, Frankie Wayman Jr., a man whose ability is completely unquestioned. But probably the main talking point surrounding this afternoon's race is going to be your fitness, Frank.
Yeah, I broke my arm about a month ago now. I had a big metal plate put in there to stitch the bone back together. First meeting last night, the arm felt really good. No problems from it at all. I was taking it steady like for the first race, but after that it did feel really good, so I think it should be okay today.
Did that come as a surprise to you?
No, ever since I've done it, it's felt really good. You know, I've always been able to use it, and it's got better and better, and now it's just, when I'm racing, it's actually as if nothing's been done. You can't feel anything. It's just as normal. It's just when I sort of hit things or something moves, you tend to just like
Get a twitch.
take it off wheel, or you get So I think it should be all right.
So obviously that is putting a power of confidence in yourself for today. Now, is that going to reflect in the manner in which you're going to contest this race this afternoon?
I don't know. I don't really know how the race is going to go. It could go two ways. It could be a really good steady race, or it could be a really rough race. It's anybody's guess to which way it's going to go. Obviously I'll just go with it whichever way it does go.
Because originally, when you first had your accident, you were thinking of simply contesting the race in order to more than likely proceed on to the consolation semi-final at Long Eaton. But this time round, particularly in light of how you did go last night, you're going to really put on the full show.
Yeah, I don't know where that's actually come from, so I've never said that I'd pull out. There's no race that I'd go in that I'd pull out of, unless there's something wrong with the car. If I wasn't fit, I wouldn't go in it.
Right.
So that's how it is.
Do you still get nervous, even at the top of the sport now?
Yeah, you always get nervous.
Do you think that's more of a case on a semi-final occasion as opposed to the World Final, or?
Yeah, semi-finals are the real nerve-wracker, because the World Final, you're there, it's the big race, you're in it. It doesn't really matter what you do, you're in it. But the semi-finals, there's a lot hangs on the semi-finals as to where you go.
But no pre-race tactics, just simply put your mind into overdrive, and as soon as you get the green flag, it'll be straight into automatic pilot, will it?
Yeah, the place I'm starting from, I can't actually dictate the way the race is going to go. I aren't in a place to set the pace, or there's certain places on the grid where you can rule how the race is going to be run, and I'm not in one of them. But we'll just have to see how it goes, I think.
Do you think it's going to be a case on the first bend, and after you, George, sort of way, when you see John on the inside of you, or?
I don't know. John's been struggling around here all year. I think he'll have it up together today. He always manages to get it together on the important occasions, but I think if he goes, I'll just follow him and just stop behind him.
Whereas you, with this car, particularly earlier this season, you've been going so fast as to even try and successfully pass cars on the outside. Now, with you being on the outside of the grid, perhaps?
Yeah, when the green flag goes, I don't know. It depends how John is at the start. He isn't the best of starters. If I get the break, I'll go. But if not, then I'll just have to try and find my way in somehow. where whoever will let me in or where the gap appears.
So fingers crossed, a front row start for Bradford then?
All being well, hopefully, yeah.
So this time he's going to be confident all the way?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay then, Frank, thanks very much for your time.
Worried about a similar play today. Certainly,
But in a straight race, no one expected Junior to get the better of his fellow Row 1 starter. Next on the Rob Hughes interview list was none other than the race favourite.
Well, we've got to finish our
Super cool
interviews with the man
John
on pole
Lund.
position, the defending world champion, number 53, John Lund, who's just come back from his practice session. How did you think it went, John?
Not brilliant.
Now, Frankie Wayman Jr. has said in his interview that he thinks that you're possibly not as quick as you could be round Hartlepool. What do you think of that?
I don't know, perhaps he's right.
And he's also said that it's a race where he might have to take an after you, George, sort of approach to it, and quite possibly he might let you go. He's pleased with his hand, but you know, his results reflected that at Coventry last night. Do you think the pressure's off you somewhat in the way that he's going to try and take his race?
I don't know, you can't really say what you're going to do because you don't know what's going to happen behind you, you know.
Do you, world champion 3 times, do you still get nervous when it comes to occasions like this?
No, not really. I'm glad when they're over though.
Are you glad of Hartlepool being your draw?
Not particularly, no. It's not really my favourite place.
It's going to be very hectic again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not revelling that pole position start then, I take it?
Well, you have to start somewhere, don't you?
That's a true comment, yes, definitely. But obviously going to be on the pace, even though you might not consider yourself to be as good. I mean, like, you're a perfectionist, aren't you, really? So.
I'll see how it goes. That's all we can do, isn't it?
Okay then, John, thank you very much for your time.
Right, thank you.
Tensions mounting, the crowd are cheering.
When the moment of truth came, Frankie Wayman Jr. anticipated the start to a split second and left Lund half a straightaway. A mini pile-up on the first lap left the 2 cars way ahead, but by the time they came up against the back markers, the top 2 were fighting for the lead, with Junior under total pressure from Lund. And after the 2 had passed back marker Neil Brigg, it was Lund's turn to feel the pressure. This continued until the halfway point when Andy Clark rolled on turn 4. With the green down, the top 2 resumed their race, only to be interrupted when John Wright rolled in the same place as Andy Clark a couple of laps later. With 2 rollovers and numerous surprise retirements, the remainder of the race was all about the top 2. John Lund stayed in the lead despite constant 5-on-5 pressure, and Bobby Burns came from nowhere to take third. Following the race, Rob Hughes caught up with 2 of the unluckiest starters in the Hartlepool semi, 87 Neil Brigg and 128 John Wright.
Just a number of the unlucky contenders in this afternoon's Hartlepool semi-final, and here relaxing with his cup of tea is number 87 Neil Brigg. Quite a fast-fought semi-final race, wasn't it, Neil? How did you view it?
It was going all right after the first couple of laps. I think everybody were wary of the first bend fence and got on the grass. There were a lot of dust about, but after 3 or 4 laps it seemed to settle down. It were going all right.
And then midway through the race he made a little bit of an impression on the race leaders when John Lund and Junior Wayman had naturally passed you, but up in 3rd place at that particular point in the race was number 2 Paul Harrison.
Was he 3rd? Oh, at the end of the first half of the race, when 169 rolled over, I think he must have been having a kamikaze attack or something, because he seemed to come wailing in the side and took me inside, broke me inside disc.
That obviously affected the handling of the car and the braking.
Well, it caused me problems. And mine were very hot. It were choking up a bit, so I had to keep it revving. And as the green flag dropped, I were more wary about those behind us than those in front. And then
you were obviously involved in your own race battle with those amongst you, weren't you?
Well, I were more interested in watching 247 behind me than watching what were going on in front of me. And it kind of put all 3 of us into the fence, and he finished up on top, so it didn't really get him anywhere, did it?
And Paul Harrison was the unlucky victim halfway through the race, wasn't he?
Yeah, he got on the outside and he got an effort into a post, and well, he backed off and carried on going. He'll have got a place. I mean, me and 247 stayed put and got nothing. And I don't think there was so many finished. How many finished?
I think we may have got 10 through, but
Yeah.
you know, at least
mean,
another 10 were gone.
There were drivers that were kind of pulled off sitting in the cars, weren't there? And in the second lot of waved yellows, put the belts back, well, not put the belts back on, but started it on and carried on going. So, I mean, they did right. Everyone said all along it was going to be a finishing race, didn't they? And it just didn't finish, but that's the way it goes, isn't it?
But the defending world champion 53, John Lund, has got through to start the world championship on row 1. Are you pleased with that?
Yeah, right enough. I mean, you've got a feel for Young'un though, haven't you? I mean, what is it, 2 weeks ago, broke his arm. Plated up, the bionic man, races around for second. You just got to take your hat after that lad, haven't you? You know, fantastic.
All right, Neil, thank you very much for your time, and commiserations on failing to get through this time round.
Right, okay, cheers.
Another unlucky contestant here at Hartlepool Raceway in this afternoon's semi-final was a rather busy 128 John Wright. John, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You rolled over. How did it happen?
I was trying to make a few places up really, and I went in a bit hard on Derek Fairhurst, and he took Thornton in, but I jumped out of gear and I couldn't get away quick enough, and I think Richard just kept his foot down and pushed me over. But yeah, it was a bit dodgy for a moment, like, but we're all right. 1 minute
you were bouncing around with the bumper work, and the next minute you were seeing the sky.
Yes, yeah, I've seen the cars going past, as long as they don't run into me, I'll be all right. But I've got a bit of a petrol leak on, so it was a bit of a dodgy for a moment. But
quite a hairy moment then, eh?
Yeah, but wear the fireproof gear, so we'll be all right. But hopefully we're going to Long Eaton now, and we're going to have to win that.
You don't look too disappointed anyway.
Well, I'm glad I was in there battling. You know, it hadn't been no good if the car hadn't been going too well and I'd been riding round. You know, I'd have probably got the same anyway, but at least I was happy with the car. Hopefully we can go out and make amends in the consolation.
Well, the crowd seemed to enjoy the race. What do you think about that?
I don't know really, it was a funny start because it all happened down the home straight really. I got through it, I think I must have been lying well, but then I got tangled. But yeah, it seemed all right, it's been better.
So Hartlepool's lived up to its expectations for you then, has it?
Not really, I was expecting to qualify.
Never mind, John. Perhaps good luck next time round at Long Eaton.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Up to the Boston semi, much was made by the track star publicity machine of the rivalry existing between front row starters Peter Faulding and Jane Beam. Jane can be seen here deposited of Peter in the July meeting at Birmingham. It was tarmac victories like these which put her on row 1 at Boston. Other points of interest leading up to the big race included Richard Mason's row 2 start, guaranteed for him by his June qualifying victories. Another interesting, a relaxed Peter Faulding shrugged off the Boston semi coverage with his views on the big race.
Tonight's semi-final on inside row 1 at Boston is Peter Faulding, 33. Peter, Jane Bean starting alongside it. There's been a lot made of your rivalry here. What observations would you make on that semi-final tonight?
In what way do you mean?
Well, you were having fun and games at Skegness not too long ago, and she put you out of the Birmingham final to win that, and there's been all these leaflets circulated and things that say it's one or other of you that's going to go out on turn 1. Would that be the case?
No idea, it depends if she's going to do me, doesn't it?
But you've got no plans to take her out and get rid of her on turn 1?
No.
What's your Boston form been like this season?
Well, it's alright being on track, but I haven't fetched a boat with me for today.
Yeah, we've been down to Boston this morning, and turns 1 and 2 are underwater at the moment. It's going to be very slippy indeed. Does that hold any worries for you?
Thing is, if somebody's going to take you out, they're going to take you out, whether it's wet or not, aren't they?
Does that worry you that someone might take you out?
No, because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, isn't it? No point worrying about it.
Is there anyone you can mark down on the grid that might have one to put over on you?
Everybody, I would think, at some time.
Should we get through to Bradford? What sort of form you got at the Odsal Bowl this year?
Not being going too bad, not being as quick as John Lund, but fairly reasonable.
Would you prefer to win your semi and start alongside John, or come second and start in behind him for Bradford?
Sooner win. Pays more money.
And you reckon you could beat him around Bradford, or you got some changes to think about?
Don't know. On present form, I would say all can happen in a world final, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and obviously going back to last year, you'd won that as good as, and got taken out by that marker. You're doubly keen to get that gold roof on this year.
I keep trying every year to win it, but I've won it once, and there's not many people that's won it at all, so I've got one up on a lot of people, and I'd like to win it again. I keep getting eluded.
You got another couple of rostering finishes to your name as well. You've been quite successful in semi-finals as well. You've gone through every year since '85, I think.
Yeah.
Is there any knack to it, or is it just luck?
No, if you're going, like I say, if somebody's going to take you out, they're going to take you out. There's no point worrying about it, is there? And I just don't bother. And just get going and just do your own thing and just try and conserve your tyres and everything. And if somebody's quicker than you, there's no point holding them up. You may as well just let them go, take your place.
And Dave Barrison and Richard Mason start behind you. Both of them are fair drivers. They're not likely to send you into the wires on turn one, I wouldn't have thought.
I would think anybody up front is going to like try and get going and let race get going and then sort it out, other than do it first bend. So if they do it first bend, they're not going to get away from rest at pipe, because at Boston everybody seems to bounce out at fence. So it's going to collect all traffic. Probably end up, I think it'll be stopped a couple of times.
It's certainly going to be interesting anyway on a very greasy track, it looks like. So best of luck, and hope we see you at Bradford.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
And the power is coming on, and the second semi-final is underway
With the green flag down on the Boston semi, Jane Bean surged into the lead, with Peter Baldwin immediately behind. Everything seemed set for a classic top-name race, but the trailing field all came together on the home straight, and the top two had no choice but to run into the resulting pile-up. On the other side of the pile-up, the top three became Dave Beresford, Dan Clark and Richard Mason. For the checkered, Mason had exited while trying to pass Beresford, and Clark made it through to the lead. And the blue top Russ Humphrey rounded off the top three with a fantastic drive from row 10. With the official result declared, Paul Hinder went into the pits to get the views of Dan Clark and Dave Beresford.
With Warren Hunter in number 20, Lionel Shaw in 362. Bumpers going in on that turn. Mason trying to get through that caution. Mason in second place. Whoa! And away goes Mason down there. To be checked before any official result is given.
The winner of the 1992 Boston semi-final, putting himself on row one at Bradford, 2:03, Danny Clark. Danny, highlight of your career?
Well, yeah, for today anyway.
You had the second at Coventry, of course, in a world final itself in '83. Yeah, pretty good moment as well.
I think that was a good moment, yeah.
Semi-final race itself, could you see in your mirrors as you came down the home straight, everyone else behind you was going out?
Yeah, I saw quite a lot of it, believe it or not. I did look in my mirrors quite a lot, funnily enough, and I could see things happening. So I was ready for most things.
And obviously they were giving Beds the lead, but you knew you were there.
I knew I was there, as long as they knew I was there. That was.
Were you a bit nervous in the closing stages then, knowing that you were leading?
No, I was very nervous to start off with before the race, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But you must have been in a few in your time, if you don't mind me saying.
Well, yeah, but I don't know, as I get older, the more nervous I get, funnily enough. It never used to bother me at one time, but...
And of course, you had a third last year at Skeg, gone one better with a first, put you on row one at Bradford. You've gone well round Bradford.
That's two better.
Oh, puts him two better.
3 to 1 is 2.
I'm not very good at maths. That puts you on row one then, I think, doesn't it?
Yes, somewhere near, yes.
You won a final at Bradford last year in this car, so you go very well.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed and all that. Well, see what happens on the night, that's all you can do, innit?
It's landing alongside Wayman Jr. behind. It could be interesting on the first lap.
Yeah.
Will you be quite excited, do you think, that night?
I should be very nervous that night, I bet.
And we can see the gold roof on the 203 car yet.
It's already had one when Peter had it. So we've had to put it back on again.
Just taking you back to that first bend, they'd all gone out and you then had to come round a whole lap and they were still there. Where were you going to go?
I don't know, I'd have sorted that one out when I got there.
And unfortunately Bean went in and cleared away, sort of barged away through.
Yeah, well, when it all happened, you know, I mean, me and Bez got through and I thought, oh, this will do, we'll just settle here, like, you know. And Bez started slowing down, or I sped up, I don't know which one it was. And I think actually Johnny Goodall who helped.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
There you go.
Slowing him down a bit.
That's stock car racing, isn't it?
And I've asked you this before tonight. You went out with Paul Harrison battling for the lead at Long Eaton 2 years ago, and that didn't cross your mind at all when you were battling with Bez?
No.
Very tight confines here.
Yeah, you don't worry about things like that at the time.
And it was flying, wasn't it?
Good old car.
You going out in the final?
Yeah, I think so. So that was the bar, I kept my mind up.
Okay,
well, final.
Thanks very much, Danny, and good luck from row one at
Thank
Bradford.
you very much. Thank you.
It's 1992 Boston Brisca Formula 1 semi-final 260 Dave Beresford. Dave, quite a battle for the lead with Danny Clark 203.
Well, what, sorry?
Quite a battle for the lead with Danny.
Yeah, Gimpy held me up a bit, and I didn't want to get in too much bother with him because I might have gone out altogether. So I thought I'm better just playing it a little bit cool, and then Danny got past me, but Richard Mason was there as well, and he caught the inside of my bumper and shot into Bert's car. But with a bit of a tussle there, they'd gone then. I started getting back a bit, but they just want enough time. He's going very, very well, Danny, very well. Pleased for him.
You just couldn't get through Gimpy at all, and these people kept arriving. Mason must have been worrying you a bit because he was all over you.
Yeah, I look in the mirror and I'm thinking, well, just ride it out, you know. I mean, I was just trying to get past Gimpy, who wants having any. But I spoke to him since. He said he's done me a favour. I'm better on second row. So I hope he's right.
And you'll be in behind John Lund 53, will you not?
I will be, won't he? Yeah, one from one semi, one from other semi. Yeah.
And he's quick round Bradford. Do you think you can hang with him?
Highly unlikely.
Having said that, though, in 1990, you drove past him as if he wasn't there. If John doesn't mind me saying.
I don't know. I did a bit of a crafty move. I moved over a midges. He shot past and into bend. I hit him on his side end and pushed him sideways and off.
Yeah.
He said, crafty move that.
And did the same to you later on in the evening, did he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. How did you know that?
I got a good memory.
Yeah, he did,
Bradford
final, but it didn't work for him.
Second in the world final that year at Bradford, British title at Bradford. It's quite a lucky track for you.
You never know, eh?
You hope.
I hope.
And can we see this gold roof on the 260 car yet? We waited a long time for 55 Burt, and you started at much the same time.
I hope so. I hope so.
And you're not too sorry to see people like Fording and Mason out, who are potentially very quick around Bradford?
Well, that's stock car racing, isn't it? It would have been nice for the crowd, maybe a better field, but the lesser drivers have got to have a chance somewhere, haven't they? They want their bit of glory as well. Let's be right about it. It's nice to see all the top men, but on the other hand, let's have some of these other lads with a bit of glory. It'll give them a good morale boost.
But even so, if I can take one of your quotes, it'll still be like Death Race 2000, I think, out there. Would you agree?
Oh, it'll be a bit quick, won't it? Yeah, it'll be a bit quick.
Okay, well then, as long as you have fun in the World Final.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Well done on your second place today.
Great, thanks very much. Cheers.
Sort themselves out and rejoin if possible, but it's not happening for them. The leaders are going through that, or at least some of them are, and it's going to be a big traffic jam.
One's coming back at him down the back straight. Craig Smith 407 exiting in a cloud of
Weekend
smoke
break
down
in the Gold Trail, which featured the best meeting yet at 92 Birmingham. YouTube to see car shortage. A last-minute decision was made to run all cars in all races. Just then, a further 4 cars turned up, and the attending spectators were treated to 3 full-field races. Looking for UK practice at the August Birmingham was overseas World Final entrant Frank van Vroonhoven, who was racing a Maynard prepared machine, but failed to get the grip of tarmac in his first UK race. Further action was provided by David Cottrell, who rolled on the back straight, and Danny Clark, who discovered a talent for tarmac. And of course, David Toulson, who in the closing stages of Heat 2 managed to park his car on the 97 machine of Murray Harrison. Chris Harwell took the honours in the meeting final.
David Toulson's climbing all over the top of Murray Harrison, 97 up on turns 1 and 2. And David Toulson parks himself on the top of the 97 car on turns 1 and 2 as they were battling for a spot down the places. And meanwhile, Des Chandler shunts Warren Hunter, number 20, turns 3 and 4, and we've lost 5 men. Murray Harrison, 8th is 159, John Sage, 9th at 533, Phil Herzog, and in 10th, 154, Gary Tresser, and John Lund takes a wide line as he's in 4th place and moves up the inside of Danny Clark and almost spins it. Matt Martin's in the way, and Clark's going to cop Finnegan Martin and take that 4th place. With Bert Finnegan in 5th and 4th.
August the 22nd was an eagerly awaited day, as the 4th consolation semi had every indication of being the best yet, with a full star quality field courtesy of the 2 hectic semis. The event itself lived up to its expectations and more. A quick rundown of leaders reads a number in double figures, and anything that could happen in the race did. If race leaders can be counted as the car most in front, from the drop of the flag, the leaders were Mike Haywood, Graham Barr, William Yarrow, Andy Clark, John Wright, and crossing the line onto lap 1, Andy Clark. Andy Clark proved to be the race's long leader, and when he exited on lap 10, taking with him second place Richard Mason, Andy Hodgson led for one lap before Peter Paulding, who had already spun out once, went into the lead. This, however, was nothing compared to the classic finish. James Bean had spilt water on the pitch fame going into turn 3. The next time round, the leading duo was slamming into a track blockage. Frankie Wayman Sr. led out of the pilot, Paulding was second, but on a flat tyre, and Wright third. Going on to the last lap, Wright pushed his way past the slowing Paulding and secured his place at Bradford, and along with Wayman Sr., a place in history as survivors of the most demanding stock car race of 1992.
And that's the battle for Bradford. 33, Peter Paulding loses out, and John Wright's gone through the second in 128 down the back straight for the last time. And it's Frankie Wayman Sr. 212 who's going to come through to win the UK consolation semi-final. And 128, John Wright is going to take that second spot and go to Bradford on September the 19th. He takes second. What a tremendous consolation semi-final. Frankie Wayman Sr. 212 wins his third UK consolation.
Once a year, the top men in Brisca put England behind them and take a short trip across the Channel to compete for the fastest championship in Formula 1 stock cars. This year, the heavens opened as the drivers went out for practicing, and the big race was held on a long, wet track. Dick Kaiser was the early leader, but by lap 7, Paulding had moved from his row 3 start into the lead, and by the end of the 20-lap event had increased his lead to over half a lap over the second place man, resulting in a well-celebrated, if unexpected, race win. The official result showed a whitewash for the UK, with second place going to John Lund, third to Chris Elwell and fourth to Nigel Wharton. However, this was to be the last UK victory of the day. The closest thing to a victory, following the long track, was Nigel Wharton's Jack Class Memorial Trophy second. Following the big race, Peter told us the day's drama.
Third time, how does it feel?
Wet.
Before you actually got out there for the race proper, there were lots of problems out there. You were screaming, could you have some practice laps? What was the real problem?
I did my first practice I went out, I did my clutch, and I got no drive at all. So we came back and we did away with clutch, and we just like run it straight in gear like a sprinter.
So in fact, you raced without a clutch?
Yeah.
And so if anybody wonders why you started a bit slow and were hanging about and giving the Dutch drivers a real chance at the start, it was because you had no clutch, in fact.
Yeah, well, I had to change into top on rolling laps, so I was too low geared really when I set off, so I had to build my speed up gradually.
Lots of drivers were scratching their heads whether to run dirt stockers on the outside or whether to run street TDs all the way around. You were on TDs. Was that the right decision, do you think?
All I'd got. Only tyres we had, so we got to have them on, haven't we?
The only driver that made real progress in the field that you probably didn't even see because it was quite a way behind you was Chris Elwell. He was running dirt stockers on the outside. He ran from row 10 all the way up to third. Nevertheless, you on your street TDs. What was it like? Was it very twitchy in every corner?
Worse round down straights because you're right aquaplaning through puddles and that, but on corners it was pretty good.
As far as the car goes, I understand that you only just got it finished in time. When did you get the car finished?
About 10 o'clock on Thursday night before we left at 4 o'clock Friday morning to come here. We hadn't tried it, no nothing.
So you tried it on no track anywhere?
No, I was going to go to Northampton on Thursday and I had trouble with clutch. Only thing I did, I weighed it at work before we set off with it, and I had trouble with clutch then, but we thought we'd fixed it and then we loaded up to come here.
And you're running a small block, presumably that means to you that the small blocks are the way to go in future?
Well, the thing is they're a cheaper engine, aren't they?
Well, Peter, a lot of English fans and I'm sure a lot of Dutch fans will be very, very pleased that you've won this race. You're very popular in Holland as well as in England. All the very best to you, and it's a pity about the English short track world final, but maybe the long track is some kind of compensation.
Yeah, I think I'll still be at Bradford.
Just one more major fixture was to take place before the magical month of September. The World Final Preview clutch start meeting at Bradford. The August 31st Bank Holiday Monday session saw both visiting New Zealanders racing to gain vital last-minute experience. Greg Johnston, racing the Linton Shale car, took 7th in the heat and a surprise 5th in the final. Another driver racing for experience was Bobby Burns, who impressed with some very aggressive drives. What everyone remembers first, and the night's final went to Peter Paulding, who had travelled home from Holland the previous night to take part at the Bradford meeting. Also racing was Matthew Bennett, who rode in a big way in Heat 3, and Dave King, who impressed with Heat 2nd in his first appearance at Odson.
And they charge away to turn one once again. Clark wants his 9 making a move from the leaders, but he's shunted into the turn, and Matthew Bennett's right over in 4-1-3. And wait. David Tilton taking a spectacular win in the consolation, and Clark goes down with a way racing, and just look at that down the home train as they all head towards turn 1. Mark Oakley, Red France, 2-3-4-2-1-6, they slow away. Possible on the battle. 87 Neil Brick goes on the exit of the back straight with NZ24.
John Lund is almost certainly the best driver racing Formula One stock cars today. Since winning the 1987 World Final at Bellevue, he has been at the forefront of the sport. But newcomers to Brisca may wonder where today's #1 driver came from. John's first race meeting at the wheel of a Formula One came at Rochdale on March the 28th, 1976. Racing a plain-looking silver car bearing the number 53, John finished 7th in a heat where many star men failed to qualify. 1976 is remembered as the heady mid-70s, a time when you didn't need to venture out of an area within 40 miles of Manchester to be able to see racing every Saturday and Sunday. A look back at the May edition of Stock Car Monthly showed Stu Smith with 307 national points, second place Willie Harrison had 214, Doug Cronshaw had 205. Bringing up the rear of the superstar grade were John Hillen and Frankie Wainman, and 17 years ago, in 1976, Stock Car Monthly cost just 30 pence. By the time magazines of the era began referring to the latest emerging talent, Lund was getting a name for himself due to his over-the-top style. Yet despite his tremendous ability, his point-scoring rate was only enough to retain a yellow B grade. Although it would only be a matter of time before he harnessed the obvious potential, the season finished with Lund as a yellow top, winning a heat at Nelson, which he followed up with a rollover, and on October the 10th, his first final victory at Rochdale. 1977 saw a red-roofed John Lund taking on star men at every opportunity, with magazine reports at the time telling of a Rochdale meeting in which Lund held up Willie Harrison for 15 laps. A Brian Ely meeting report says that Harrison tried all he knew, but everywhere he went, there was Lund's bumper, wheel or front end blocking his path. Inside, outside, tight lines, wide lines, John had the answer to everything, showing just how much he'd learned over the past year. Whilst 1977 didn't provide Lund with any finals, the end of the year saw the 24-year-old in 10th place in the National Points Championship. 78 was a disappointing season. A late start in an unsuccessful lightweight car resulted in only 461 points, compared to the previous year's 626. A bright spot was John's qualification for the 1978 World Final. John achieved a 6th in the semis and finished 8th in the world, and rounded off the year with a career second final win at Rochdale in October. After a lean 1979 Jubilee year and an even worse 1980, John was about to spring back into the headlines in the 1980 World Final. John started on row 3 for the Coventry event, and the first attempt at a start saw Lund give vent to 2 years of frustration. Going into turn 1, John kept his foot hard down, and by the time the leading pack had entered the back straight, it became apparent that Stu Smith was in the fence, courtesy of the John Lund bumper. A complete restart was ordered, and this time Smith was not to be touched. But the best drive of the year was provided by Lund, who made the rostrum when he came home third in what was only his second World Final. If the 1980 World Final was a turning point, the new force that was John Lund came to the fore in 1981. A World Semi-Fifth was followed by a World Final Fifth, and before the year was out, John was 7th in the points, with a haul of 1,240 points, and that included 25 heat wins and 5 finals. Things got even better in 1982. In the opening meetings, Lund scored 6 final wins, managing to keep within sight of the constant early 80s points champion Frankie Wainman. 1982 was the year John Lund entered the megastar bracket, ending the year at number 3 in the points behind Wainman and Mike Close. 1983 saw John debut a new style of car to comply with the 6-post roll cage rule. Following a Sheffield semi-final victory, the car was lining up on the front row of the Coventry World Final. John led the early laps but was soon overtaken by Stu Smith. But on the resumption of the race after a mid-race suspension, John led once more before exiting with a flat. This heralded another 2 years out of the limelight for John. Despite giving Frankie Wainman a run for the national points, it was an otherwise disastrous 2 years for him. And following a string of seasons with race wins on the upside of 20, 85 saw John manage less than 10 victories. 1986 saw a new name on the side of the 53 car, Markey Technical Services. As if by way of saying thank you, John made Brendan Markey's local track, Aycliffe, his very own, winning 6 finals there in 1986. The 86 points chase saw Frankie well in command, but as the season progressed, John got closer and closer, only to see the chance of a title slip from his grasp as the season drew to its close. John's World Challenge was halted by a flat in the Hartlepool Semi, but the end of the season saw John finish with 2,400 points, just 267 behind Frankie Wainman, with a meeting average of 30 points compared to Frankie's 33. 1987 was the year when the history of John Lund became the history of Formula One stock cars. John started the season by debuting a new shale car, fitted with Mike Huddart-prepared cast-iron Chevy. By the June grading list, John had made up a 100-point lead over Frankie Wainman, and by July, Lund was enjoying a 250-point advantage over the second-place man. In May, he won the British Championship at Skegness, but ironically, he failed to take the European at Aycliffe, which was his #1 track in the 87 season. As the season progressed, he came increasingly into the frame on shale, and at the Sheffield Semi, John raced to a strategic second behind Dave Beresford. In the 87 World Race, John was in a class of his own. In a style that was to re-emerge at Bradford meetings in '92, Lund pushed all troubles out of his way and was not in any way held up during the 25 laps. Following the world title, John went straight on through the remainder of the season in the same style, winning the Points Championship, the Daily Mirror Grand Prix, and everything else that was on offer in a manner not seen since 1969. Since 1987, Lund has stayed at the top of the sport. In 1989, Peter Faulding challenged for Lund's national points title, and as everyone knows, Lund, in front of a stadium full of fans, took the championship at the last meeting of the season at Hensford. It was a similar story in the 1988 World Championship final. After some of the most exciting laps of tarmac racing ever, Lund piled Faulding into the West Bend and was never headed for the remaining laps. 1989 saw disaster strike in the Aycliffe Semi. Lund, at the front of the pack and assured of a front row world start, retired from the semi-final race with transmission problems. Lund's contribution to the World Series was not yet over though. As world champion, he was seeded automatically onto the back of the grid, and after hitting a pile-up, John was lapped by race leader Ray Tilsley. John found himself then blocking second place Peter Faulding for most of the race. The only other hiccup in John's World Finals came in 1990 at Bradford. After some hectic opening laps reminiscent of Hensford 2 years earlier, John got away and looked set to take his third world title with ease. But a fire in the stationary Russell Taylor car brought the race under caution, and on the restart, Bert Finnegan started hauling in the 53 car. Following a highly charged series of battles, Finnegan broke free to take the checkered and the gold. John did have some world title success in 1990 though, when, after years of trying, he finally won the world long track title in Holland, finishing 1 car's length in front of Ron Kroonda. following year, John was one of the unlucky 5 drivers to feel the bumper of Kev Smith in the Skegness Semi. By lap 1 of the race, Kev had fenced John Lund, Dave Beresford and Nigel Wharton on turn 1 and Bert Finnegan and Des Chandler on turn 3. Defending world champion Bert Finnegan won the race and John climbed the places to finish 7th. It's interesting to note that the joyriding Kev Smith further helped Lund by eliminating many of the top runners as John raced up the places. Lining up way down the grid at the 91 Hensford World Final, no one was expecting anything of Lund, although the fastest ever practice lap of 15 seconds showed that if anyone was to make progress in the day's big race, it would be Lund. Indeed, by the closing stages, Lund had passed Andy Hodgson for 3rd place. Going into the last bend of the race, 2nd place Peter Faulding launched into long-time race leader Bert Finnegan, bursting Finnegan's outside rear. Faulding had won the world final, but backmarker Richard Pratt steered him into the wall and a flying John Lund came cruising through the inside of the floundering lead men to take the world title. The world of stock car racing was treated to another challenger to the Lund throne in the closing months of 1991. Taking on 53 in the Stock Car Magazine Grand Prix Series was Junior Wainman, who got rid of Lund in the Long Eaton final. So with 91 coming to a close, the rivalries were placed for an electrifying 92 showdown.
Only ever one stock car meeting of importance in September. Whether it is the World Final, the Championship of the World or the World Championship Final, this is without question the stock car season's biggest meeting, bar none. As September the 19th drew closer, the final showdown between London Wayman on the hallowed Odsall Shale was about to begin. But the 5-on-5 car had suffered badly from the 1992 season, and leading up to the event itself, Frankie Jr. was rumoured to be debuting a new shell car. Sure enough, that very morning, the most radically offset shell car ever rolled into the Odsall pits. Rob Hughes got the lowdown from the race's top 2. Heath Barber compares the top 3 cars.